This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody, and a very warm welcome to you all from wherever you'll be watching. What we have here is a mother lioness and 2 cubs. Good morning, everybody. So plans for this morning is we heard lions that were calling west of camp this morning. So I headed out, and this is also where we kind of left these 3 last night. Full bellies. I didn't think they were going to be going too far. We heard a couple of impalas alarm calling. So we came up and followed here. But welcome to Wild Earth, everybody, and welcome to your very own live safari from the African bush.
This is so amazing. You can see how close he is to us.
That is insane!
Standing by.
Hello and welcome to the Masai Mara. As you can see, I am sitting with the Sausage Tree Pride.
This is Safari Live.
Welcome to And Beyond Ngala, everybody, and what an amazing start this is. I mean, the sun has just risen, the birds are all calling, lions are moving around and playing. What an amazing start. And this mother, I'll actually try and move back a little bit. She's kind of just moved behind us. This mother is incredible. She's doing an awesome job. Good morning, everybody. My name is Dan. I'll be your guide for the day. And on the camera, we've got BK. And I was hoping to find lions this morning with lots of calling. We heard of west of camp. She's also been calling pretty frequently as well. And it is still nice and cool. Look at the little one with the big log in its mouth, trying to show mom how strong it is. And I wonder, I mean, the calls that we heard initially, I'm sure it was from that male that we were with last night, or maybe his brother, calling still further west of where we are, and she has been replying actually to him, not terribly loudly, but still loud enough to carry at least a few kilometers. And if he would want to come and find her, he would be able to very easily. But it doesn't look like that's her plan. I mean, if she really wanted, she'd also be able to get up and take her cubs towards him. Have a look at that full belly still from yesterday. I mean, they've got no reason to move around this morning or move too far from last night. They are still in an open area. They must have been pestered by impalas and zebras and wildebeest last night with their alarm calls. But it seems that they're not too disturbed or too fussed about it, actually. That little one, the brother, I mean, he's slightly lighter and he's got quite a bit of a bigger head. He's a male and a female, the 2 little cubs. This is the young male. I don't know if he just saw his sister playing with that log and got a little bit jealous and decided that he wants to play with the log now, particularly after she lost interest in it. Let me move. Is he going to bring it this side, or am I going to need to reverse a bit to show you this? Let's see if I'm going to reverse just a tad. That seems a bit better. Now we can kind of see if he might turn around and play with that log some more. Have a look how the light is illuminating the grass. And how these lions are just lying down there, taking it very easy. Very content, in fact. Full bellies, not a worry in the world for now. Nice and open. Look at these 2. They're super cute. I wonder if they're not going to play for us a little bit more this morning. Particularly conserving all their energy last night. The little one just watching, hey? Mom's also keeping that ever-watchful, protective eye over them. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time here, try and see if we can't hear other lions calling a little bit further away, in which case we're going to head towards them. But in the meantime, I'm going to send you to Tristan, who's also found some lions this morning.
Well, we do have a lioness that is busy watching a whole bunch of impalas and a wildebeest. It seems as though quarantine is the place to be today. It seems as though there is a lot going on, and I'll tell you why in a short little bit. Before we get into all of that, let me say hello and tell you who I am and what is going on this part of the world. My name is Tristan. On camera I've got Johan, And like I said, it's a very warm welcome to Djuma this morning. This particular open area, for those of you that don't know, is called Quarantine. And like I say, it is the place to be this morning. This morning, we have 3 different predators on this particular clearing. So we have the lioness, there's Tingana, who is probably about 300 meters, 400 meters to the south of where she is. And then there's a whole bunch of hyenas that are milling about as well. So there's a lot happening on Quarantine this morning. At this stage, she doesn't know about Tingana and Tingana doesn't know about her, and they're far enough apart to not be in visual range. They're both kind of hugging the edge thicket of the clearing on the western side, and kind of watching out over Quarantine. Now, this lioness is particularly watching these baby wildebeest and impala lambs, but it's going to be very, very difficult for her to get anywhere near them. And that's purely based off the fact that they are sitting in the most open parts of Quarantine. And so for her to get anywhere close to the 60-odd impala and a whole bunch of wildebeest is going to be very, very, very tricky. She potentially is going to be spotted quite easily. Now, I haven't had a good enough look at her, to be honest with you, as to recognize which female it is just yet. I haven't even looked at my binos. And I didn't want to go too close because I didn't want to get between her and the potential prey items that are around, as well as... Looks like the neck-eared lioness, doesn't it, from the Nkuhuma Pride? That's what it looks like. I might be wrong. A lot of you will know the lions a lot better. I haven't seen the Nkuhuma Pride in so long. I don't think I can even remember any of them. But it looks like her. It certainly doesn't look like the Shumungwe lioness. It's got those little nicks in the ears, little scar on the right side of the face, and the eye color. It looks very much like that Nkuhuma. I don't see any sign of other lions, so we'll just have to kind of get a little bit closer just now and have a proper look at her. But I think that's who it is at this stage. I know the Nkuhumas were on Arathusa yesterday, so they were kind of off, not too far from the edge of Djuma. So it makes sense if they're around. And kind of milling about. Apparently yesterday they were all over the place, and there was varying kind of groups of the Nkuhumas spread out over the sort of western part of Arathusa. So let's see what happens. I'll like I say, reposition just now and try and see if we can see a little bit better. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to Trish so she can say good morning.
Such an exciting start to the morning. Both a leopard and a lioness on Quarantine, and all of those antelope. Ooh, could be a tense morning. Here we're at Treehouse Dam with a couple birds to chat about. And my name is Trishala, and I have Theo on camera with me this very wonderfully pleasant morning on Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. Gorgeous temperature, not even a need for a jacket or anything like that. It's lovely, but of course that means that it's going to get much warmer as the day progresses. At the dam, it's a little bit calmer than things up at Quarantine, and we have a grey heron as well as a hammerkop that are looking for breakfast. The hammerkop's been slightly more successful than the heron this morning and caught a tiny little fish.
We should probably prepare to move fairly quickly.
Wild Earth presents Safari Spotlight, your front row seat to the wonders of the wild. Join our expert naturalists each week as they guide you on an unforgettable journey through the heart of nature.
Looks like this female came out here.
What a privilege to be here.
Subscribe to the Wild Earth YouTube channel and never miss a moment of the adventure. Wild Earth, connecting with nature. Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Discover the magic of Africa with Wild Earth Travel. From a big cat safari to a jungle trek with gorillas, picture yourself floating down the Zambezi River or witnessing the breathtaking wildebeest migration. At Wild Earth Travel, we turn your bucket list into reality. Don't just dream it, live it. Plan your incredible life-changing journey with Wild Earth Travel today. Did you know that the Wild Earth team makes weekly behind the safari content? Would you like to get to know the Wild Earth family better? See how we live.
This is Igor's bedroom.
Learn about our production process. And see the antics that happen off camera. Sign up to be an explorer and you will get access to all this content and more.
To eye out a meal. There's a woodland kingfisher in the tree just there as well that keeps ducking down. Good morning, pretty. The feathers are so striking. Just as stunning. All right, well, this was a lovely, peaceful time at the dam, and we got to see some successful hunts going on here. But let's send you back over to Tristan on quarantine, where there is a lot of excitement.
Well, it's not the Nikki-eared lioness from the Nkumas. I've had a nice long look with binos, but it is definitely one of the Nkuma younger lionesses. I'm not 100% sure which one, but she's from the Nkuma pride. I think, and I stand under correction here, that it could be one of Ridge Nose's original cubs, but difficult to see. Now you see she's backing off a little bit out of the clearing, and the reason for that is because the impalas on our left-hand side at the moment are coming closer, and so as they start to come closer, so the likelihood of them seeing her is really high. And so what she's doing is she's retreating slightly into the thicket so that she's going to be well hidden, so that as these impalas and wildebeest start approaching, they're not going to find her right on the clearing. And then what you're going to find is as they start to get hot, because it's going to be a very warm day today, hotter than it was yesterday, they're going to start pushing into these thicker, denser areas in order to try and get out of the heat, and that's going to play right into her hands. If she's lying in a dense thicket, it's going to be very difficult for anything to see her, as opposed to being out on the open clearing where everything is walking kind of and can spot her very, very easily. So I'm pretty sure it's why we've seen a sort of tactical retreat, if you want to call it that, is she just gets up, she moves behind some trees and some vegetation, but from there she'll still be able to watch what's going on, and she's going to hope that slowly but surely these animals get closer. And the time that we've been sitting here, I reckon the impalas have probably moved maybe about 20 meters closer to us. The wildebeest haven't moved at all, but the impalas definitely have. And it's starting to get a lot warmer now, so it doesn't surprise me that we're starting to see these animals shifting off of quarantine and starting to head into at least a bit of semblance of cover. But what that means is that I'm pretty much in the way at the moment, because those animals are going to move in my direction, which I don't want to be. So I'm going to try and move and get around her to the back side of her. It's always much better to be on the back end of the lioness rather than between prey and predator. Obviously, we're trying not to influence anything that's going on. Okay, well, we're going to do that. In the meantime, though, we're going to send you down to Kyle, see what he's up to this morning after such a spectacular end to the day yesterday on Swali.
Dumela, good morning and welcome to Swali Kalahari. And this is a way I like to start the safari in the morning, doing a little early morning birding. And what a fantastic bird we have in view here. This is a ground scraper thrush. Very nice bird to see, very active at this moment. Very active forager. see it flicking out moving vegetation. Very warm welcome, good morning. My name is Carl, behind camera is Owen, and thank you very much for joining us on this fantastic morning. Nice calls of the white-browed sparrow weaver, obviously those sharp, harsh, jumbled notes. And what a nice way to start off this morning's game drive. Very nice bird to see, those ground scraper thrushes. This ground scraper thrush. Yes, it is. And there's actually a pair. You normally find them in small pairs like this here, or small groups, just like this. Oh, we're just trying to locate there for us. Very nice bird to see, and very distinctive markings. Take a look at the one busy foraging. You'd see a very distinctive line through the eye and that heavily streaked or blotched breast and tummy. Uniform gunmetal, dark gunmetal grey dorsal section or back section of the bird. Very, very distinctive. But a fantastic bird to see. Black cuckoo busy call in the background. Dawn chorus just starting to lift off. Please, for all our young Earth warriors, please, if you want to communicate with us, any questions or comments, please feel free to do so. For all our young Earth warriors, that would be kids questions at wildearth.tv. Sorry, I got a little bit lost there in the birding. And then for everybody else, it's just a hashtag wildearth or at FC. And don't forget that exciting and new initiative. If you feel like you want to get really involved, please go and check out wildearth.tv/explorer. So it could be feeding on a little ant nest there, or termite nest, more than likely an ant nest. It's continuously pecking at the ground. There, yeah, definitely picking up ants or termites.
We have an exciting announcement. Wild Earth is launching a YouTube membership program. For a nominal monthly fee, members get an ad-free channel, prioritized questions, early access to videos, and many more perks. You'll get fun features like badges and emojis that'll make you stand out in the chat. YouTube memberships will help us to continue with our mission of connecting people with nature while giving you access to lots of our amazing content.
Get ready for an adventure of a lifetime. Wild Earth Travel is proud to launch a brand new grand tour. Backed by popular demand, join us for an unforgettable experience where you'll meet Wild Earth presenters from past and present, participate in an exclusive rhino conservation project, and even take a masterclass in wildlife filming. And of course, you'll get up close and personal with your favorite animal characters. Book your spot now and dive into the wild with Wild Earth Travel. Stay up to date with the latest happenings at Wild Earth. Discover what goes on behind the scenes and get a weekly recap of the best moments on the channel.
He's got it! And he's straight up a tree!
Sign up to be an explorer and receive our newsletter written just for you and sent straight to your inbox every week. Wild Earth Explorers, a club for people who are passionate about nature.
Thank you for joining us and have a fantastic morning.
very careful here. Like I say, his only safety point is that tree behind him where we are right now. There's nowhere else for him to be able to go. And he's going to have to spot the lions before they spot him. Because if they spot him first and he doesn't pick them up, it could end very, very badly. And even though he's a big male leopard, these lionesses are way larger than what he is. Come on, Tingy. To give you an idea how close the lionesses are, where he's standing now, about 15 to 20 meters in front of him, on the left side of the road, is where the two lionesses are. So you see there's going to be a bush and a little shady thicket. That's where they're lying. So if I use the antenna of my radio, is right there. No, don't go in there, Tingana. I don't even know what to say right now because he's way too close and he's not paying attention in the right direction. So the lioness that's further away is not the problem here. It's the one that he's about to walk into right now. You see, he's seen them now. There we go. Now he's running. He's going to go straight to the marula. I'm sure the lions are going to chase him. There he goes. He goes up and here come the lionesses. Look, they're going to chase after him. Oh, Tingy, you're going to have to go a lot faster than that. You'll see him go up a tree somewhere. Try and get through all of this, which is not easy. It's not a very easy place. I see the lions in front. I think he managed to see them quick enough. Oh, there he is. He's up the tree. There we go. Okay, all good. Tingana, you're going to give me heart attacks, so I don't need it so early in my life. There the lions are on top of the termite mountain. Tingana is firmly placed up in the tree, which is crazy. I'm going to try and just get into a position here where we'll be able to line them up so that you can actually go from one to the other, which will be pretty cool. So if you have a look there, you can go from leopard in the background to lion in the foreground, which is absolutely ridiculous in every way, shape and form. You can just see his silhouette in the tree behind her at the moment. So that's where he is. He's, like I say, he's up a tree. He'll be fine up there. It's no worries for him. The lionesses, while they can climb that tree, that's going to be probably too kind of flimsy, a lot of those branches, for them to actually get to him. And there's no kill, so there's no real risk for these lions to be able to kind of chase that leopard up the tree and try and kind of injure themselves by going up there. But I'm glad Tingana managed to spot those lions before they spotted him, because he was walking straight into them at one point, which is not an ideal situation at all. I'm sure a lot of you, like me, had kind of heart in their mouths, felt like your heart kind of beating out of your chest at one point there. Alex, not that I've ever heard of. These guys don't like each other at all. I've never seen lions or leopards work together consciously to get food. What I have seen is many, many times one chasing something and that then leads to the other one making a kill. So you might find something like lions chase these wildebeest and then the wildebeest run into a thicket and the baby wildebeest gets caught by a leopard or something like that. That happens. But what you don't see a lot of is, well, you won't see, I've never even heard of it, is them cooperatively hunting, so helping each other. Remember that predators see each other as competition. They don't see each other as friend. So they know, one, is that they're dangerous to their own offspring to have predators around. Two, it's not a good situation to have a cat that eats your resources, so it also eats meat. And so that's why they just don't tolerate each other at all. There's never really been a recorded case of cooperative hunting. What there has been, though, which is interesting, and I don't think any of them have ever survived, I certainly have never heard of it, but there has been adoption of leopard cubs by lions. So lionesses that have litters of cubs that have sometimes adopted a little leopard cub, and there's a leopard cub suckling from a lion. That I've heard of a few times, but never actually seen those able to kind of grow and become adult leopards within a lion structure. So I'm not sure if there's maybe something within the nutrition that they get, or the way that the lionesses try and look after them, that leads to them dying, or when the lionesses start to realize, hang on, they look different, and kill them. I don't know kind of how that plays out. It's one of those things that we often kind of see, not often, but you do see pictures of these leopards suckling from lions, but you never really see it progress from there. So I suspect that the lioness eventually realizes, hang on a second, this is not from my pride, and this is not what it's supposed to look like, and either it gets killed by other members of the pride, or maybe, that's maybe probably more likely what happens, is that she introduces it to the pride and the other members see leopard and not little baby and don't have their mom blinkers on, and end up killing the cub. I mean, I don't know. No one's actually documented what happens to those little cubs when they start to develop with the mom. But isn't that just the most insane thing to see? Like I say, a lion in the foreground and leopard in the background. It's one of those things that you don't see very often at all. And they not really, no. I mean, hunting will take first preference, but they've got to assert themselves and make sure that they just send a clear message that they are in charge of what's going on. So you'll find that they will chase a leopard and they'll make sure that they kind of intimidate that animal as much as possible. But you can see now this lioness in the foreground, so the one that is kind of sitting here, she's not going to be kind of worried too much at all. She's hardly even facing Tingana anymore. Mostly she's just having a bit of a nap. You can see her eyes closing in the morning sunshine. So what does happen a lot of the time is when they chase these leopards is that they end up lying down, and then they kind of basically keep that leopard up the tree because they lie right next to it. And what happens is the leopard will sit up there and wait and wait and wait. And once it sees the lioness is completely flat and sleeping, then they try and sneak down and run away as quick as possible before the lionesses can notice that they have gone. But sometimes that can be an all-day thing. I have seen leopards stuck up trees all day long with lions sleeping underneath. So it can be a long, long, long morning for Tingana, but hopefully what's going to happen is these lions are going to move off and allow him the chance to come down. Nkohumas, you haven't been here for ages, but you come back with a vengeance, don't you? I'm glad, though, that they didn't grab Tingana. I was kind of hoping that was not what I wanted at all. It would have been a very, very disturbing thing to witness, a leopard being taken by lions. It's not a pleasant thing, and it does happen. There's been a lot of lions that even at Tingana's experience level have been taken by, a lot of leopards, should I say, that of his experience level have been taken by lions. So good that it's all worked out and he's managed to somehow evade them. Luckily he spotted them, because if he hadn't spotted them, he was going to be in big trouble. He would have walked straight into those lionesses. And it just goes to show you how perceptive they are. I think what happened there is he actually saw the first lioness, which was the one right in the open clearing, and then he thought to himself, no, I need to get away from her, and he was going to cut into the bush and play it casual and just walk through the thickets around her. But obviously there were the other two, like I say, that were in there. Shame, boy. It's been a long time since he's had to climb a tree for anything other than food and to pilfer from somebody else. So this is a different experience for him at this stage. I'm sure the lionesses are just milling around underneath the tree at the moment. They doubt they're doing too much else. They won't really climb that tree if there's no food up there. A lot of you would think that they would go up to try and fight with him up there, but they're not as agile. So if there's no carcass up there, they're not going to go up for anything or for any reason. They'll rather just sit at the bottom and just watch him. Eventually they'll get bored of his kind of sleeping up there, and they'll move off and either rejoin the rest of the pride, or they'll kind of, go off hunting or find a shady spot to sleep. And that'll be the gap for him to get out and to move off. And once he does come down, he's going to run, and he'll run far. He's not going to stay anywhere near here, which is a bit of a pity, because he was starting to get into a little pattern where he was coming to quarantine, hunting, and then back to the dam overnight for all of you to watch on the dam cam, and then kind of going off and back again. So it's a pity that that's going to be ruined a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's also nice to see the informal pride around on Djuma once again. Alright, so we'll carry on sitting here. We'll see what happens and what plays out, and whether the rest of the pride arrives or what goes on. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to Peter.
Good morning and welcome to and Beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We've just come across this lioness with two relatively young cubs. Really, really beautiful sighting here. It's really, really nice weather, nice and cool this morning. These young cubs have just shown some interest in something. I'm not too sure what it was. They had their eye on a dove earlier. And at this stage, they're obviously not taking part in any hunts, but they are showing interest in maybe birds and small little animals, just to practice their hunting techniques for now. But I'm Pete, and behind the camera we have Glenn. And this morning we've got quite an exciting lineup for you. Really nice weather, so hopefully the animals are quite active for a little bit longer. The one cub has just gone behind a bush now. She seems to be just taking rest now. There's that nice black cotton soil. It's a really nice and soft soil. Usually in summer, when there's a lot of rain around, this is actually a water hole where there will be a lot of animals attracted to here. You can see even all the little footprints all over the place where elephants would have made indentations, rhinos, anything that's got quite a bit of weight behind it. That lioness just got her head up, scanning around. So Glenn's just said to me now, I know, JC, I heard you guys have been spoiled this morning in terms of lions. Really nice weather around. I'm not too sure how it is at other places, but whenever it's overcast like this, lions tend to be a little bit more active, for a little bit longer throughout the day. Look, there's a pigeon. I don't know if Glenn can zoom in that close, but just to the right of that young cub. And it seems like he's got his head down now. There we go, getting up, going behind the bush. So this young cub has obviously just taken notes from the mom, seen her in action before, how she hunts, using a little bit of disguise. It'll be really, really interesting to see if this young cub does try and catch that dove. I think he's lost a little bit of interest as the dove goes behind the bush now. He does still have his eyes on it though. There we go, he's given up, going back to its sibling. Never mind, changed his mind again. That other sibling, as well as that other young cub, has just crouched down on his haunches there as well, keeping an eye on what the brother is doing, thinking, should I join him? But also that soil looks so nice and comfortable. I think she's decided just to lie there and watch what happens here.
This is On Safari.
Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Discover the magic of Africa with Wild Earth Travel. From a big cat safari to a jungle trek with gorillas, picture yourself floating down the Zambezi River or witnessing the breathtaking wildebeest migration. At Wild Earth Travel, we turn your bucket list into reality. Don't just dream it, live it. Plan your incredible life-changing journey with Wild Earth Travel today. Chatting around a fire is an ancient practice that has connected humanity for centuries, and we want to keep it alive in our modern age. As an explorer, you'll have access to intimate gatherings with our naturalists, fascinating guests, and experts where we share knowledge, insights, and stories around a crackling fire. Rediscover the power of connection. Sign up to be an explorer today and experience the magic of Wild Earth's Fireside Chats.
She got a bit of a fright from her cubs there. Really nice to see all this playfulness here. And see that bond between them is really, really close as well. But usually when the mother plays with cubs, it's not for a very long time. She just gives them a bit of attention and then she gets back to the serious business. A little bit of a toilet break now. But if you look carefully while she's walking there, you can see all that definition in her arms and in her back. She's really, really strong, and this lioness is in the prime of her life. This is her first litter, so she's doing really, really well here. There we go. Very playful. You can still see that she's quite youthful still. Really, really awesome to see them playing like this. But I hear Tristan is going to show you guys a bit of a leopard-lion interaction there, and we'll stick around here for a little while, and hopefully you see just now.
As you can see, not much has changed. Here, Tingana is staring out because the impalas behind us are going absolutely crazy, which means I'm pretty sure they've spotted those lions. So he's watching in the distance there. You can see he's got quite an intense look on his face now. He's had a tough morning, has Tingana. Life is not always easy out here. For any animal, you would think that a leopard would have it easier than maybe some other creatures, but that is not the case. you'll find that they, on their day, can also have tough ones, just like we do. And I mean, this morning he's been chased by hyenas, he's been chased by lions. It's been a rough morning for the Duke. But luckily, he's an experienced fella, so he knows exactly what goes on and how to get himself out of things and able to kind of deal with certain situations. And it makes you think, how many times has this happened to him in his life? A lot. It's probably more than we even realize. We know we've seen multiple different leopards chased by lions in the past, but including him. But it's never something that you kind of breathe easy about, because things can go horribly wrong very, very, very quickly. The last kind of incident I remember, well, in this area of lions getting hold of a leopard was, and to do with the kind of leopards we follow, was one of Tundi's cubs that was taken by the Styx Pride. A horrible, horrible, horrible sighting that, and the footage and videos and photos are not very pleasant at all. And he just unfortunately slipped slightly as he was trying to get up the tree, and they grabbed him by the tail and kind of pulled him out and yanked him out of the tree, and then sort of systematically killed him, much like they would if they were in a kind of fight with another pride of lions. So it was not an easy thing to watch, that, and that's what you never want to see. So kind of when he was approaching there, I was just hoping that we weren't going to get an incident of that ilk. It's not funny when that happens at all. No, James, I suspect that he's not thrilled at all. It's like when you have those days where you wake up and everything just starts to go wrong. You kind of get out of bed and stub your toe, then you spill your coffee or your tea, then you kind of go out and there's traffic, and then you kind of have maybe a car accident. That's the kind of morning Tingana's having at this stage. So I'm not surprised he's not looking chuffed with life. It's not the kind of start to one's day that you would want to be, like I say, chased by hyenas first and then having to be treed by lions, when you just want to go on your morning stroll and go and get yourself an impala lamb for breakfast. Things didn't quite work out that way today, Tingy, but that's okay. He's survived, so he'll settle down and won't be so grumpy by this afternoon. And I don't think the lions are going to stick around too close to where he is. I suspect what we're going to see is that they're going to get hot, and they're going to go try to find some shade, and then he'll be able to get down and go and do his own thing and find somewhere peaceful where everyone will leave him alone. Problem is because it's going to be very, very hot today, I wouldn't be surprised that there's going to be a lot of elephants which are going to disturb him at some point today as well. So he's got lots to look forward to. I think it's going to be a long day for you, Tingy. But at least the sun will come up again for him. He's managed to avoid any sort of negative thing with these lions, and at least he didn't have to get into confrontation. I at one point there thought that we were going to have a big problem, because I actually thought the lions were slightly closer than they were. I kind of misjudged the trees. I couldn't remember exactly which tree they were under, but I thought they were within a few meters of him, and luckily they weren't. There's a good kind of 10 meters between the two parties, and that allowed him to get away. And because he made the break before they did, so he started to run before they did, he had that little bit of a head start, and that allowed him to get up into a tree. But did you see how interesting it was? He went straight past the first marula, and that first marula is an interesting tree because it's kind of got a long, big, straight stem, but it's got very thick branches on top, which would be branches that would be easily able to support the weight of a lioness, whereas he's gone up a smaller tree now, which has got much thinner, more narrow, more intertwined branches. And I wonder if part of his kind of escape was just to get up something that is going to be harder for these lionesses to get up. I don't know. I mean, obviously in the moment, I suppose it's all reactionary rather than calculated, but it would be interesting if that's the case, if that's why he bypassed that first marula to get to the smaller, more kind of I would say irritating marula for a lion to try and kind of climb. It would be very difficult for a lioness to get up to that, whereas the marula behind us would be a lot easier. So maybe that's what had happened, or maybe it was just coincidence and he just ran for his life and tried to climb a tree. Who knows? All conjecture, really. We won't ever fully understand why he chose which tree he did. But you can see how he's watching. He's just staring in the direction of those lines. I don't know what happened to the other two that were here. They went over the mound, and I can't see any sign of them. It's not like they're milling about right at the bottom of the tree. But they must be here somewhere that he's still in the tree itself, because he wouldn't be in the tree if he couldn't see the lines. He would be down and away. But there must be somewhere nearby, although he keeps just staring to where the impalas were alarm calling. He's not looking anywhere else, and where those lions are, I can see the other vehicle is with the lions at the moment. It's far enough that he could escape without anyone worrying him. So I don't know. And I feel like he needs to find a spot and just fall asleep, because he's not going to be going anywhere anytime soon at this stage. And standing like that surely can't be that comfortable. Beverly, in lions not so much, but in leopards very much so. Their food preferences do change. So what you'll find is, as they start off in their life, they start off on very small things. So they lizards, birds, small mice. As cubs, they play and they try and catch things, and so that constitutes the sort of start of their diet. As they start to get older and physically more capable, so they then start to escalate into other prey animals, and they'll then be able to start getting things like the likes of impalas and so forth. And you'll find it's very dependent on the area that they live in as to what their kind of preferred food item is. But then as they start to get older, they start to slow down a little bit. Catching speedy things becomes a lot harder. You start to see them almost regressing slightly. So they'll target slow-moving animals like porcupines, aardvarks, civets, those kinds of things. And then on top of it, they'll start to kind of catch birds and try and kind of scavenge off other leopards quite a bit as well. So they kind of start to almost go back into a youthful phase where they try and catch smaller things rather than the larger stuff. Which you'll see often with old male leopards, particularly porcupines and civets, become something that they start to really eat a lot of. And a lot of them actually, it's kind of the beginning of the end for them, because when they start to do that, they expose themselves heavily to all kinds of issues. So eating porcupines is not a clever thing for an old leopard. If you get quills stuck in you, that can lead to infections, which can be fatal to them. So, and desperation as they get hungry and it becomes harder to hunt, makes life very difficult, and then they take more risk than they probably would have. But Tingana's not in that bracket yet. He's still very fit and healthy, and even though he's eaten the odd porcupine and civet here and there, it's still not constituting the majority of his diet. So he's absolutely fine, and we saw him kill an impala down the other day, so he's still got what it takes to survive as an adult male leopard.
Well, welcome to your few minutes of pure bliss here on Tswala Kalahari. And what a beautiful scene to do it at.
Join the Wild Earth YouTube superfan community and unlock a world of additional perks. Get exclusive early access or discounts to Wild Earth travel deals. Wear the best bush attire with merchandising discounts. Enjoy an interactive live monthly private safari. Don't miss out on the ultimate fan experience. Join the YouTube superfan community today. Get ready for an adventure of a lifetime. Wild Earth Travel is proud to launch a brand new grand tour. Backed by popular demand, join us for an unforgettable experience where you'll meet Wild Earth presenters from past and present, participate in an exclusive rhino conservation project, and even take a masterclass in wildlife filming. And of course, you'll get up close and personal with your favorite animal characters. Book your spot now and dive into the wild with Wild Earth Travel. Are you looking to take your bond with the wild to the next level? Download our app and access in-depth chats with our naturalists and special guests. Connect and converse in real time on our Ask Me Anythings, fireside chats, hangouts, and town halls. WeChat, available on the Wild Earth app. Wild Earth, we are Safari.
Quite a nice position. She's got a lot of space in between, but she's coming from a low level up to a high level. There's a lot of cover in between. If you go back down towards where the cubs are, they're looking at mom. They must have seen the warthog as well and looking at her thinking, is she going to take this opportunity? She seems to not be too interested now. Looked around. She might also just be looking to see if there are any other prey species around that might alarm call if she had to start moving towards that warthog. If Impala or Inyala saw her, they would start barking at her, and that would just alert the warthog that there is a predator around, and the warthog would then run off. So we're going to stick here a little while. Doesn't seem like she's moving just yet, but I've heard that Carl has a bird in a tree, which will be quite interesting.
That's the nest if he goes.
Well, welcome back. So another bird we haven't had the luxury of seeing, and there's 3 of them, just taking it easy on this fairly cool morning. Doing a little early morning preening session, realigning all those feathers, pre-flight checks basically going on here. This is a bird called a speckled pigeon, and fairly easy to recognize. If you look very close, you're going to see this beautiful red eye ring, basically encases the eye. You're going to have this light pinkish throat, and then those prominent speckle-like patterning. Those little white spots running down the wing. Very beautiful bird to see. But that red eye ring and those white speckles being very distinctive to ID the species. fairly large dove species, or referred to as a pigeon. Crowned lapwings busy calling around us. Very beautiful sounds going on. And they'll go off for the day now and go off and forage. These guys predominantly feed on seeds, but then also they'll utilize the green shoots that are available at this given period. See that the calls of the lapwings have got their attention as well now. So even birds use other birds to pick up on predators. Because if a bird gives an alarm call, that means that there's something that everybody should be wary of. And so birds actually use each other. Mike, good morning. What is the difference between a dove and a pigeon? Well, a pigeon would be a larger species and a dove would be a smaller. By my knowledge, doves are smaller versions of pigeons. Pigeons are quite large, chunky individuals. So if you look at this individual would be at about 300 to about 350 grams. And then in comparison to the ring-necked dove that we've been looking at quite a lot, the ring-necked dove is only about 150 grams. So it's quite a large size difference in terms of body mass. So your larger species, pigeons, and then your smaller ones, doves. Very, very beautiful birds. But I just want to get Owen's attention, and let's just take a look at this wonderful scene we've got going here on the right-hand side. And I mean, it is spectacular. You'll see that how the light affects this place is quite remarkable. And just look at the backdrop that we're enjoying here. You can see all the spider webs being illuminated from the sun. When the birds go into the nest, you can see debris falling down and just almost like snowflakes coming down. There's a few insects making their way across the nest. And obviously just the sheer beauty of the birds going into the nest is just remarkable. Bits of the green that just illuminate on the tree, and then the dark, basically shadow being casted from that of the sun being behind it of the tree. It's just a very beautiful scene. So a lot of babies would be in these nests now. So like I've mentioned before, 20 mils and above, these birds actively start breeding. And obviously now with the rainy period being in summer, these birds do actively breed in the summer period. And that high-pitched call that you can hear in the background, those are the chicks busy whining and begging for food. The next couple of weeks, the parents will actually, when the fledgling is ready to leave the nest, the parents will actually entice the little ones out. So they will sit on a branch with a food item to basically lure this young individual out. It's very nice of the parents to kind of, give them a push over the ledge or a push out the nest. But obviously those little chicks now become a viable food source for a lot of predators, from birds to reptiles, small mammals. And that is all obviously in effect. If you don't have that predation, you would have these social weavers, reaching exponential population proportion or size. So the role that predators play along with these individuals is a very, very fine balance. Sure, that is just amazing. A lot of spider webs in the background there. More than likely by spiders. It could also be by caterpillars. A lot of caterpillars. Oh. Ah. Hardy dove, ibis. Very distinctive call, and a call that people really dislike, especially around the city areas of Johannesburg. Very distinctive call at 4:30 in the morning to wake everybody up. And that is just magic. So now with the abundance of insects, this is what they'll be feeding these little chicks. Obviously protein is a very, very solid substance to be feeding a developing individual. There's nothing better than that. All the insect activity is also being utilized by these intermediate role players. Here you are. And if you take a look at the bottom right, left-hand corner of this nest, you can... Oh, all right. We're going to send you off to, I think it's Pete and some thirsty lions.
Good morning and welcome back to Anmionpinda. These two cubs have just come across this waterhole, and after all that playfulness, they've just become a little bit thirsty. I don't know if you heard that, but Mom's just been calling them now. She's summoning them to follow her. But this one cub is still a little bit thirsty. That little reaction is really beautiful. If you look to our right now, there's a big buffalo bull approaching them. This cub hasn't seen it just yet. But I'm sure as soon as he does notice the buffalo, he'll run as fast as possible. I'm sure if these buffalo had to come across these cubs without the mom around, it would be quite an interesting story that would unfold. I think the buffalo would chase these cubs, and I've read about it where they can actually kill the cubs and take them out because they are such a threat to buffalo. But because this mom is by herself, she's definitely not going to even attempt to show any interest in these buffalo here. Look at that buffalo now, just noticing those lions walking away. Not even really showing any interest in them. Really beautiful now. You can see this whole herd slowly making their way towards this waterhole. I'm sure as they approach, they might even surround the waterhole completely. Some of them might even get inside the water just to cool off a bit. But as they're walking towards us, you'll notice that most of the buffalo that are close to us now are slightly older. And these buffalo are really an important part of the herd, and they're called the pathfinders, and they lead the herd out into the grazing areas. They're the most experienced. They know where to go and graze, and then they also know where the water is. So they'll be at the front, and all the rest will be behind.
We should probably prepare to move fairly quickly.
Wild Earth presents Safari Spotlight, your front row seat to the wonders of the wild. Join our expert naturalists each week as they guide you on an unforgettable journey through the heart of nature.
Looks like this female came out here.
What a privilege to be here.
Subscribe to the Wild Earth YouTube channel and never miss a moment of the adventure. Wild Earth, connecting with nature. Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Discover the magic of Africa with Wild Earth Travel. From a big cat safari to a jungle trek with gorillas, picture yourself floating down the Zambezi River or witnessing the breathtaking wildebeest migration. At Wild Earth Travel, we turn your bucket list into reality. Don't just dream it, live it. Plan your incredible life-changing journey with Wild Earth Travel today.
Thank you for joining us and have a fantastic morning.
Did you miss all that? Never fear, You won't have to miss another beat on Wild Earth again with our Catch-Ups channel, where you can rewatch missed safaris and shows whenever you please. Only available on the Wild Earth app.
Thank you for joining us and have a fantastic morning.
They seem really thirsty this morning. They've probably spent the night out in a nice big open field and had a little bit of grazing this morning, and now come to the waterhole to have their morning drink, and then they will head out again and graze for the day, and then probably return to the same waterhole later this evening. It is the only waterhole in the area, quite a dry area at the moment. We haven't had that much rain yet this year, so they all know this waterhole. So it's a really an important part of their lives. Like I mentioned earlier, look at them. Some of them have gone almost knee deep inside this waterhole now. Linda, so buffalo on Anbion Pinde do not migrate. They are nomadic, so they'll roam around and follow where the grazing is. So this big buffalo bull just came and interrupted everyone, gave them a bit of a fright. But Linda, back to your question, they're very nomadic, so they will just follow around where the grazing is and where there's water. They are incredibly water dependent, and if there's a drought, they're the first animal to really struggle. Then if you go just beyond this bull, there's a young female there with a tree stuck on her horns. Or sorry, a branch rather stuck on her horns there. And often what they'll do is if they've got a little itch on their ear or on their face somewhere, they'll rub their face up against a tree, and that looks like a small timboti tree that she's been rubbing up against. It's quite interesting. You can see a bit of the tree left on her horns there. That greenish color that's just popping out there. Yeah, there's some zebra coming from behind as well. Really beautiful scene here. The zebra look nice and clean. We had a little bit of rain last night, so they look like they've just had a nice bath. Look, as they're approaching the waterhole, they won't go and drink close to where the buffalo are. They'll rather come and find their own little spot, and you see they'll kind of keep away from the buffalo. They respect their distance, and now as that buffalo is approaching them, they're moving off slightly. But here Tristan has got those lions with him again, so we're going to send you off to Tristan.
As you can see, that was where we were with Tingana, but he's come down and disappeared, and we have decided consciously not to follow him. Oopsie, there goes my game drive radio. Sorry, Lions. We've consciously decided not to follow him, purely based off the fact that he's had a rough morning already, and us crashing in behind him is only going to stress him out more, and there's no really reason to do that. We're not here to stress animals. We're not trying to, increase their stress levels. We rather want them to kind of see us in a positive light rather than a negative one. And it just didn't feel right to follow him. He's had a tough morning already. Between being chased by all these different things and stressed out, and he just, I think, needs time for himself. So rather than us crashing around him, making him feel as though he's a bit jittery, we decided we'd stay a little bit with the lions, although it's only 3 members of the Nkuhuma Pride. I don't see any others. I certainly haven't found any signs of other members here. And I wonder if that's starting to be an indication of what might be happening within the Nkuhumas going forward. That pride is big. It's way too big to survive here as it stands. We don't have enough food availability in terms of big prey items to sustain prides that are 16, 18 members if you include the evokers. That's just, it's too large. They need a high percentage of buffalo in their diet or giraffe, and we have very few of either of those in this area at the moment. So I wouldn't be surprised we're going to end up with a split. It's quite a common thing to happen within the lion prides, within the Sabi Sands. If you go back, to the Nkuhumas themselves, Torchwood, Telematis, Nkuhumas, they all kind of originate from the same pride. You look at them, the Salala pride and how that splits into the Salala, Mangens, Kambula pride. So that's gone through 3 splits. So it happens regularly when the prides get too big and the lions have to split out. Torchwood pride is split again now, with the younger individuals doing their own thing and the older lionesses on their own. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of the sub-adult lionesses from the 2016 litters. I call them sub-adults because none of them have got cubs yet. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see those lionesses leaving the older lionesses and going about doing their own thing. It's quite a common thing for that to be the splits, is when it's either a mother and her kind of offspring, or it's the offspring of the pride during a certain time period that generally takes off and goes and does whatever it is that they want to do and sets up their own little area. And quite frankly, it wouldn't be the worst thing for us, because what would happen is we'd probably find that in Nkuhumas, now that they've shifted so much more south and west, there is space here, albeit a little bit of space, for a small pride to exist. So a pride of 3 adult females like this would actually be quite a nice size pride for this little section between the Telematis, Torchwoods and Nkuhumas. And it would really kind of operate quite well across the Djuma sort of area. The problem with that is that as much as you want lions to be around fairly regularly, when you get an increase in lion activity, generally you get a massive decrease in all other predator activity. So, we've been spoiled with wild dogs of late, and that's partly due to the fact that we're seeing so few lions on Djuma at the moment. The dogs are having free rein around here. They can run around, and you see as soon as they have an incident with a lioness, how the next day they're gone. So you find when there's a lot of lion activity, dogs go down, cheetah sightings will all but vanish, and even your leopard sightings start to take a downturn as animals try and avoid those areas where there's high lion activity, precisely because of what we just saw this morning. So as much as it would be nice to have a smaller pride operating on Djuma, it will come with a cost, but that's the way things are. I mean, it's life, it's how the balance works. And it's why we kind of, sit and observe and we start to learn over the years and for extended period of times to be able to understand this ebb and flow that takes place. All right, we'll sit with the lions for a little bit longer. It's getting very warm, so I don't think they're going to do too much, but let's send you across to Kyle, who I believe has got something very interesting.
You're not going to go in these flags?
So, the beautiful color that you're seeing from these 2 beetles, there is one over there and there is one over there, is not from actual pigment, but it is the way that the structural components of the animal's body is structured, and it is reflecting a certain wavelength off of the cuticles, the tiny little pieces that make up the animal's body plan. These are jewel beetles. And jewel beetles, hence the name jewel, they actually look like pieces of jewel. And I mean, it is absolutely stunning. The color that is coming off of these little insects is remarkable. So jewel beetle come in a variety of sizes, anywhere from 2 to about 50 millimeters, so fairly large, 2 millimeters up to about 5 centimeters in length. That would be about yay big, my finger next to them. So it's quite a large individual. And they have these elongated body plans. You can see over here, it's quite an elongated structure. And if you think about beetles, beetles are very, very diverse in terms of their body plan. And the stuff that makes up the body plan, the chitin, obviously has allowed them to diversify and inhabit multiple environments across the globe, also making them one of the most abundant in terms of species across the world. There's about 380,000 described species of beetle. And this body plan, and as well as the stuff that makes up the body plan, has given rise to their success. These two individuals are just resting now. Obviously, it's still a bit cool. Insects operate in a more warmer temperature range. When it's cool like this, they tend to be very, very static. And I mean, what an amazing insect to be looking at. Absolutely mind-boggling. So just on a quick count, I read something a couple of minutes ago that some of these insects go through an immature stage that lasts up to 35 years. 35 years. I mean, that's remarkable. And just thinking about their role that they play is obviously very important. And beetles play a role of multiple roles, from being predators to being pollinators to being prey, you name it, even being a host for certain parasites. But really, really beautiful to see this little individual sitting on this leaf. They are sitting on a velvet raisin bush, and what initially got my attention is I was busy looking over here, and there's a lot of little caterpillars around and on this tree, and it is very busy. Then, what do these beetles eat? These beetles would more than likely eat vegetation, so plant matter, and that would be leaf or even flower matter at that. If you look at insects, more than half of the insects across the globe are herbivores, and obviously you get a percentage that are predators, and you need that balance to outweigh obviously the amount of them, because if you think about the biomass of insects around the world, it is tremendous. It's actually mind-boggling figures. But yeah, these guys will be munching on vegetation. With beetles, they have moving mouth parts, which would be used to crop and obviously feed off vegetation. But what initially got my attention, Owen, can you look this way? What initially got my attention was these little guys here. You can look in front of the little piece of grass that I have. These tiny little caterpillars tucked up in between all parts of this tree. And we've been talking about butterflies and moths, and obviously larval food is very, very important for these individuals. And I'm now seeing more and more now that I'm looking. They are just everywhere. So I'd like to find out in the next couple of minutes, and I'll be sure to let you guys know if I do find out who this could possibly be, because this is very specific, because they are all the same in terms of patterning. They all have these orangish heads and then this speckled or mottled patterning going down to the back. So definitely a certain species utilizing this plant for its larval stage or development. And now they'll go through between 4 and 6 instars or molts, obviously accumulating the vegetation they need before they can eventually pupate or go through that transformation of metamorphosis. We're going to send you off for a couple of minutes. I'm just going to geek out over here, and we'll see you back this side. Welcome back, everybody. Now, we're kind of stuck here for a moment. I don't know if you can see, but maybe 1/4 of a foot in front of the vehicle. She is moving now. There she goes. Look at this lioness. She's right next to us. And it's quite amazing. We were with her this morning. We left her to try and follow up on the rest of the pride. And drove quite a distance, and as we were driving, we heard baboons' alarm calling. So we kind of turned around and went back towards the riverbed. And she's moving quite quickly, and she's moving quite far as well. Particularly, it is warming up quite a lot as well. And her little cubs are, I wonder where they are right now. I wonder if they're not ahead
of her, or if they're right in front. Oh no, they're right in front of me, so I'm not going to go anywhere. I just got a glimpse of one of the tails. I might be able to move back a little bit. They might. No, it's not the shade of my vehicle that they're using. So let me move back a little bit. See if you can see them. Have a look at them. They've just kind of reappeared in the picture in the front. Keep going, Beak says. There we go. More. Cool. Quite amazing. I mean, as we were following her as well, we found the baboons. We saw them alarm calling right at her. There she's crossing with us, two little ones following behind her. And as we stopped and turned off, we heard Impala's alarm calling. And that's exactly what I think she's listening to. She's trying to see if maybe there isn't a food opportunity, potential for a meal. Maybe a leopard's taken down an impala not so far away from here, and she's going to go in there, and if a leopard has, or even a hyena, she's very likely going to go and steal it from them. But it's quite interesting. I mean, she is being quite brave, taking her two little cubs to an unknown impala alarm call, because if it is maybe another pride of lions or a huge clan of hyenas, it will put these two cubs in serious danger, in fact. So she's up and moving. I wonder if these two aren't going to get up and follow her as well. Let's give them a moment. She's kind of walking slowly through the thick bush. She'll stop every now and then and listen. And these two are watching her very closely, learning. See how their heads are kind of going different. There we go. One up. Here it goes. Other one up as well. Here it goes. Following Mom's exact path. Being sure not to let her too far out of her sight, or out of their sight rather, and so that they can keep following her. And Mom wants them to follow as well. If she didn't, she would have kind of let them know. Okay, so I'm going to try and reposition, see if we can't follow and catch up to Mom. And let's see what's happening here. I wonder how... Oh, she's coming back. Changing my mind a bit. So she's now... Where are you going? That's the two little ones come through. So she has kind of just changed her mind. I wonder if she's not doing a little loop around, trying to see if she can't spot the impalas that were alarm calling and try and take them by surprise, or even the animal that they were alarming at by surprise. Oh, she's now just lay down as well. Let's see if we can't find a better position to get into here quickly. Very interesting. Oh, my audio, sorry. Back? Cool. Back again. So, let's see. Let's try and get in here. Watch your head here, BK, and the camera. Just going to turn off and allow this vehicle in front of me to get a good spot. So a bit of a tricky spot that she's lying in. And I'm going to try and keep my head out the way as well. Be very interesting to see what her next move is. She looks like she's picked a shady spot. And so I wonder if she's not listening. Listen, I don't know if you can hear that. Those impalas are still alarm calling.
We have an exciting announcement. Wild Earth is launching a YouTube membership program. For a nominal monthly fee, members get an ad-free channel, prioritized questions, early access to videos, and many more perks. You'll get fun features like badges and emojis that'll make you stand out in the chat. YouTube memberships will help us to continue with our mission of connecting people with nature while giving you access to lots of our amazing content.
Get ready for an adventure of a lifetime. Wild Earth Travel is proud to launch a brand new grand tour. Backed by popular demand, join us for an unforgettable experience where you'll meet Wild Earth presenters from past and present, participate in an exclusive rhino conservation project, and even take a masterclass in wildlife filming. And of course, you'll get up close and personal with your favorite animal characters. Book your spot now and dive into the wild with Wild Earth Travel. Not everyone gets excited to hear a leopard chuff, spot a pangolin, or see a real impala rat. But if you are wild about the wild, you can become part of a community of like-minded nature lovers and share authentic wildlife experiences with the world. Join the Explorers Club and you will also enjoy the many benefits that come with it too. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
You can see she's got her eyes fixated on something, ears pricked forward. Everything that the mom is doing at the moment, the cubs are watching quite carefully and they're taking notes because they know in the near future they're going to be doing exactly the same. And 2 years isn't a very long time. It is quite a long time in a lion's lifespan. But in about 1.5 years, 2 years time, these young lions will be doing exactly what the mom is now doing, trying to provide for youngsters and just for themselves as well. You can imagine a termite mound gives a lot of elevation, a really nice spot to climb up on. Cheetah often do this as well when they're looking for something to prey on, or also just to keep an eye out for any potential predators that might be around. They often use these elevated points, and termite mounds are a great one. All these beautiful sounds. I don't know if you can hear that Deirdre's cuckoo in the background. It's a really, really beautiful sighting here, and with that mountain on the background, the lights really nice on these lions. That red color is also a color that we don't really see too often in Phinda, and it's a really special soil type. It's quite a clay-based soil. And often if you see warthogs rolling around, it looks like a completely different animal. They turn out really, really red, and it's quite funny to watch them. They've just gone behind that bush. I'm going to try and move the vehicle slightly. See if we can get a different angle here. Just go in front of them, see if we can get them head on. There we go. Looks like we've got a nice angle here. The cubs Nirvana Girl, that's a great comment, and it's very true. Each of them is really special in their own way, very, very unique, and almost specially designed for what they're made to do. You can imagine these big lions, they're very, very social, completely different to an independent leopard that just wanders around on its own and really only is together with another leopard if it's got cubs or if it's mating. Otherwise it's really a solitary animal, and that's similar to cheetah as well. Really, really special. This lioness will probably join up with her pride as his cubs seem to get a little bit older. She's moving off now, just keeping an eye on her cubs. Nice big stretch. I wonder if they're going to go and find a bit of shade as it's starting to heat up a little bit. I'm going to try and keep up with them. They've just gone down into that dry waterhole that they were in earlier. Let's see if they're going to carry on moving. So we're going to keep up with these lions, and I heard that Carl has some interesting insects for you guys. So see you later.
Well, look at this amazing sight. There is a lot of brown veined whites. This is the butterfly species that makes that mass migration through the interior of South Africa, almost 3,000 plus kilometers. And at the moment, they don't have anything else on their mind but mating. This is where they'll find a mate. You can see how they're flutting around, and there is a few of them that are actually attached to one another. And how they are doing this, mating is obviously it looks very awkward, but in the beginning they'll actually sit side by side. But when they attach themselves from abdomen to abdomen, so back end to back end. That's where the reproductive organs are situated. And in that process, the male will then pass the female a packet or package, obviously with his genetic value, his sperm. And then obviously the female will then take it in, she will then break it and fertilize the eggs. And then from there, she will obviously fly to a suitable site where their larvae or the species would actively feed on a certain plant type. Like we've been talking about, the distribution plant species are very, very important for certain butterflies. Obviously, the larval stage having certain species of plant. And where this specific butterfly, its larval food would be that of the shepherd's tree. And this is a very funny growth of a shepherd's tree. You can see the whitish bark. Live and interactive. Good morning, everybody. But there is definitely full mating behavior taking place. So once the female is obviously mated with, she'll carry the sperm inside of her, fertilize the eggs, and then she'll find this appropriate food source, and either singularly or multiple, she will lay the eggs. But what a hive of activity to be watching right now. It's like a fairy tale.
This is On Safari.
Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Discover the magic of Africa with Wild Earth Travel. From a big cat safari to a jungle trek with gorillas, picture yourself floating down the Zambezi River or witnessing the breathtaking wildebeest migration. At Wild Earth Travel, we turn your bucket list into reality. Don't just dream it, live it. Plan your incredible life-changing journey with Wild Earth Travel today. Do you sometimes imagine what Wild Earth would be like without adverts? A chance to properly immerse yourself in nature without any interruptions. Sign up to be an explorer for a small monthly fee and you can truly escape into the wilderness. Ad-free viewing is now available on our app as well as on our website. Wild Earth, it's in your nature.
And it's just on this little bush here. I mean, it's a hive of activity just at this one spot. I mean, if we look around us, there's plenty of other shepherd's trees, but this is definitely where it's happening right now. And as the weeks go on, more and more species will emerge. 76 different recorded butterfly species on Tswalu, which is remarkable for a western arid region such as this area. And I mean, the diversification of these beautiful insects is just mind-boggling. Well, we're going to enjoy these butterflies for a little while longer, but we're going to send you over to Tristan, and he's got some lions.
That is remarkable. It's a serious amount of butterflies. Now, we've tried to move a little bit because two of the females had their heads up, but they've just plonked them back down again, so the visual's not great, unfortunately. Our lionesses are very, very sleepy, and I expect it's because of the heat. It is extremely hot in the sun already. While there is a breeze blowing, the sun has got serious venom, and so if you're a cat covered in fur, I don't think it's very comfortable this morning, and I think they're probably feeling far better off hidden in the shade. And so I expect what you're going to find with these three Nkuhumas is that they're going to be very sleepy today, and then we're going to find that they're going to get up and go this evening. So it'll be better to be with them around sunset tonight. I think we'll see them waking up and then hopefully slowly kind of moving their way towards a potential drinking spot down at the dam, maybe Galagopan or the dam, and then hunting from there. I don't think we're going to see them active at all now. I'd be very, 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 very surprised if they did anything. I mean, you can see their whole demeanor has changed since they chased Tingana. They've become a lot more kind of relaxed, and they just flopped on their sides. They're not watching anything. They're not even paying attention to vehicles that are arriving in the sighting. They literally are just asleep. And this is what, you know, a lot of the cats will do. Even leopards this morning, I wouldn't be surprised that their behavior is very similar. Like Tingana, pretty sure that he found himself a spot and has ended up just sleeping now. I don't think he's going to be too active either. It is warm, it's blustery, it's not really the conditions for lions to be moving around too much. I suspect we're going to find that they're going to just lie up here. Oh, you guys decided to put your head up to see who's arriving. I also have no idea why they've chosen the shade that they've chosen. There's this beautiful big marula that's got beautiful shade, and they've decided to take the guarri bushes, which have got very little shade, and the sun is going to hit them quite regularly. You can already see that lioness, how there's that patch on the side of her face. That's going to be warm, and she's eventually going to get irritated with it and get up and move and find some better shade somewhere than what she's got right now. Nice to see the Nkuhumas though. Even if it is only 3 of them, it's always nice to see some of them back on Djuma. But also it's an interesting thing because when they do split, I mean, obviously they are competition for one another. We saw it yesterday with Thandi and Kuchava. It's a very similar kind of thing. But sometimes you'll find that even though they are theoretically competition, random moments can happen. And I've seen it with the Salalas and even the Talamatis and the Nkuhumas, where they actually end up feeding together on carcasses sometimes, but generally the response to one another is going to be quite negative. As soon as an animal carves out a territory and it has offspring, its duty is to protect that offspring. It's not to worry about its old family ties. And so if that means that the family ties that it had previously are compromising its ability to mate, to produce cubs, to raise those cubs, then it's an aggressive response that starts to take place in order to try and kind of reduce that competition. So, it's sometimes they are fairly okay with each other, but most of the time not. They most of the time actually give each other quite a hard time when it comes to these splits. But it's going to be interesting to see how many more prides we get, because obviously these guys might split. I'm almost sure the Telematis are going to split as well. The Kambula or Nsevu pride, they're going to have to split. They're too big as well. I think there's 21 in that pride, if I'm not mistaken. So, there's a lot of big prides now within the Sabi Sands, and soon we're going to end up with a lot more smaller sort of satellite prides. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they all settle and where everybody is going to fit. Because if you think about it, if you get 3 prides that break apart, and let's say you get an additional 3 prides, it's not like there's a huge amount of space for 3 new prides to be around. And so it'll be fascinating to watch how the kind of Torchwoods, Telematis and Kahumas, how that all happens. Whether the splits head north into Manuleti from the Telematis, or the Kahuma split heads towards Ottawa. I don't know. It's going to be a fascinating next little chapter in what's already been a dynamic and checkered kind of history of lions within the Sabi Sands, particularly over the last sort of 10 to 15 years. It's been up and down and all over the place, in many respects, from big male coalitions to dwindling prides to now a rebuild and smaller male coalitions. A lot has happened over the last 10 years, and it's going to be interesting to see what plays out next and how this next chapter goes. I have a sneaky suspicion, though, that what we're going to see is these young Kahumas are, as we know, have already come into estrus cycles, and they're starting to mate with their evokers. But I think what they're going to do is they're going to end up having cubs on Juma. They're going to come and have their cubs where they were born and put as youngsters. That's what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to see very similar den sites from them, and we'll have a kind of back to 2016 period where we had lionesses here with their cubs, and it was a constant. I wouldn't be surprised if that's what ends up kind of happening. The other area that's up for grabs is also Torchwood. Yes, there's Torchwood lions that are moving around the far eastern side, but that central part of Torchwood is pretty much underutilized by lions at the moment, and there's some beautiful den sites there, as well as food availability. There's a lot of buffalo that come out of the Kruger on eastern Torchwood. So I think that will also be a place that you might find some lions starting to settle, and maybe that explains the far-ranging movements of both the Nkuhumas and the Telematis out of their general areas, is that they're starting to expand and almost look for other places. You might find that, young females are driving the pride to move further afield as they explore and try and see where their next potential move can be in order to kind of sustain themselves. I'm sure there's a prey kind of response to that too, in that they're searching for food, but it could also be that they're just searching for space more than anything else as the prize expands, so they know they're going to need more space to operate. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out. Much like our leopards at the moment, we're in a really good from a predator point of view. High number of leopards and big pride lions, and that's at some point, interactions and things are going to happen, and it can't always stay idyllic like this forever. We really have been spoiled probably the last 6 months, I would say, with unbelievable sightings of pretty much all the predators that we see here at Juma. I mean, we've even been seeing cheetah again lately. It's not regular, but we have been seeing them. We've had a lot of dogs, a lot of hyenas. Our prides of lions have been fairly good to us. I mean, obviously we're seeing the Telematis a lot more, and the leopards have just been off the charts. So It's going to be fascinating. All right, we're probably going to leave these lions now. We're going to go scratch around. There was reports of a leopard soaring to the west, so maybe Shadulu or Hukumuri is about. So I'm going to go see what I can find there. In the meantime, let's send you off to Carl at Swali Kalahari.
All right, welcome back. Look at this. I just want you folks to focus on this individual right over here. And what I'm trying to explain is, look at its wings. Its wings aren't as fully formed as a butterfly. And when we initially saw it, the wings were all crinkled and almost tucked in. It's because that brown veined white has just emerged from its chrysalis. And it is actually physically pumping air into the wings to straighten them out. What an amazing sight, because if you look here very closely, look at this. These are individuals over here that still need to emerge as actual butterflies. So inside there, this transformation of metamorphosis is in process, where this caterpillar is physically breaking down its entire body and restructuring everything. Didn't have wings, didn't have a feeding mouth appendage like a tube, that proboscis. It didn't have large googly eyes. So the whole body is being restructured from a worm-like individual into this beautiful, magnificent flying creature. And now the sole purpose of this individual is just to mate. And that's what's going on here. So we've looked very closely, and this entire little shepherd's tree is just laden with caterpillars, and as well as these chrysalis. And these are individuals that have emerged maybe 20 minutes ago, if less than that. You can still see the wings, they almost look wet. They're very floppy, and that's because the individual is still structuring and forming them correctly and getting them ready for flight. What a marvelous sight. The individual didn't have antennae. It didn't have eyes on the side of its head. It had eyes on top of its head. It didn't have wings. It didn't have reproductive organs. Everything happening in this tiny little case. How incredible is that? And I would love to find one. Wait, shush. Everybody, this is Deirdre. Oh my word, here we go. Yes, nice one, D. Look at the wings. And now you're going to see in the next couple of minutes, those wings will start basically pushing out and forming into proper wings. Oh my word. So just to let everybody know, everybody that has been watching SafariLIVE for a little while, and you guys, so all of our viewers, just like our guests at Swallow, we do not see guests as guests. You're not another number, you are family. So our family members that have been watching SafariLIVE for a little while would remember Deirdre. Deirdre will be taking over from me tomorrow morning. Wealth of knowledge, obviously the boss here on Swallow, and she'll be in the hot seat from tomorrow morning. And what an amazing sight. Deirdre, let's just say hello to Deirdre. There we go. Let's just give a hello to Deirdre. Hello, Deirdre. There we go. This is Deirdre, everybody. And she's the individual who just spotted this, but this is remarkable to see. This is a first for me. I've only seen this on obviously footage before, but never like this. This is such a treat. Brand new life stemming right in front of our eyes. This chap going down here. So you can see also that remarkable property. Louis, you are correct. It is blood that fills the wings. You are 100% right. Louis, good morning. Asked a great question. Is it not blood that fills the wings? I stand to correction. Yes, it is. Thank you very much, Louis. It is blood that fills the wings. And obviously, while the animal is drawing in air, that blood is being pushed and stimulates the wing development. I mean, look how that transformation has happened right in front of us. So a lot of mating going on here, but then a lot of emergence of these brown-veined whites. How incredible. And now in the period that we're in, obviously temperature is a very important thing as well. Mariana, good morning. Great question. What is the difference between a butterfly and a moth? Well, there is no scientific solid evidence to split butterfly and moth, but there's a general consensus across the board, as in terms of you find a butterfly will sit with its wings closed, a moth will sit with its wings open. Moths typically are active under the cover of darkness, whereas butterflies are active in the daylight hours.
Join the Wild Earth YouTube superfan community and unlock a world of additional perks. Get exclusive early access or discounts to Wild Earth travel deals. Wear the best bush attire with merchandising discounts. Enjoy an interactive live monthly private safari. Don't miss out on the ultimate fan experience. Join the YouTube superfan community today. Get ready for an adventure of a lifetime. Wild Earth Travel is proud to launch a brand new grand tour. Backed by popular demand, join us for an unforgettable experience where you'll meet Wild Earth presenters from past and present, participate in an exclusive rhino conservation project, and even take a masterclass in wildlife filming. And of course, you'll get up close and personal with your favorite animal characters. Book your spot now and dive into the wild with Wild Earth Travel. Did you know that the Wild Earth team makes weekly behind the safari content? Would you like to get to know the Wild Earth family better? See how we live.
This is Igor's bedroom.
Learn about our production process. And see the antics that happen off camera. Sign up to be an explorer and you will get access to all this content and more.
Right, so as you can see, we're still here. We were just chatting to some landowners that were trying to find out some stuff about the lions. They were listening to our last little kind of chat, and they were intrigued as to what was going on, and were asking a little bit of information. It's always nice when we get people that are interested in things, particularly people that own properties here. They don't come all that often, and so sometimes they lose kind of touch with what's going on, and it's always nice just to sit and help them out with what's happening. Generally, they're all nice people, so it's a good thing to do. But we're going to sit here with these lions a little bit longer. Like I said, we'll just let you listen to the sounds of the African bush while they have a little nap as the wind blows.
I think it is time that we leave them, and hopefully we'll be able to find something else down the road.
There was a gorgeous gymnogene that was in this, or on this dead tree, trying to get its claws into what appeared to be a starling's nest. But then unfortunately, as the birds do, it flew away, being dive-bombed by starlings and the drongos as usual. I was hoping if we just waited it would come back here, but unfortunately not. But that's okay. We've been having a fantastic drive with so much variety. I wanted to show you something. I just need to make sure it won't blow away in the wind. So you're just going to give me a sec. So you can grab something to hold it with.
Ja, så är det hela förbi 3 gånger. Det är very static.
Look, you heard Tristan in my segment. How cool. All right, so here we go. I'm going to pop it into the shade of my cap there so it's a little easier to see. It is the spent exoskeleton of some type of hymenopterid. That's all I can tell at this point. You can see that there's a sting area at the bottom there. I think it's very, very cool to see these kind of things because they are so delicate that they're usually completely lost and broken, very easy to break. And you can see at the top where my forceps are holding it, that's where the animal would have broken through. And because insects have this hard chitinous exoskeleton, in order to grow, they need to shed that skeleton, and then their skin will harden again once it hits the oxygen, and they'll get a brand new one. I'm just going to show you the face quickly, if it will allow me without cracking it. Might also be a young mantid, a type of mantid. But it's very difficult to see it with just the exoskeleton. I can already hear it cracking. No, I wanted to keep it so it doesn't break. But I thought that was very, very cool. Even some of the hairs are still on it. There goes a leg. I keep little containers for all these little things I find. Then I can show it to you at some point. Yeah? Alright, well, let's put these away and continue on. Still haven't found any elephants, except for some young males that were running away, having a bit of a box and then running away. So we're gonna keep on the search. Last night I saw on the way home after Tingana, I saw a scrub hare suckling 2 little tiny leverets. That's what you call baby scrub hares. Tiny, tiny ones. Just like that. And then we stopped and watched them for a while. And at first, their immediate defense is to crouch low against the ground. So then we switched everything off and just watched them in infrared. And then they suddenly got up and they seemed to have so much confidence about them. Tiny, tiny little things. It was so lovely to watch. And now because they are out in the open, they don't have burrows. We know this is about scrub hares. They create little forms in the ground. So that's actually why I came this way, is to see whether they'd be anywhere nearby where I saw them last night. Obviously, being nocturnal, they're going to be out in the evening, but we know we've seen scrub hares in the day, and they are somewhere in the day. They're just lying up so well hidden that we usually don't see them. But since I knew where they were roughly, I was hoping that I would be able to find them. Unfortunately not, but hopefully that's just their camouflage working really well for them. And that they were around and I just couldn't see them. That would be great. They were too cute. It's been some of it was seriously cute. One of the cutest things I've seen this month, I might say. Anyway, Kyle is on a roll with these insects. Go Kyle, he's got some butterflies.
Welcome back to this very wonderful scene. We are looking very hard to potentially catch a butterfly coming out of the chrysalis. So to think about what's going on over here, this caterpillar would have used silk to anchor it to the branch. You're on that one, eh?
Yeah.
And then from there it would have actually moved its body in such a manner that its exoskeleton would have become the actual chrysalis. And inside this little compartment, this is where this transformation would be taking place. And I'm really trying to look, because it would be mind-boggling. Sorry?
The caterpillar coming up.
Oh, there, yes. Because it would be mind-boggling to see, but then to share this with you would be just cherry on top of the cake. I never thought in my wildest dreams I would be able to see this. And it's now with the increased heat, the temperature is quite warm today, but summer is definitely the period where insects go crazy and they need heat. Heat is a very important requirement for a lot of processes to take place. If you think about cold temperatures, things go dormant.
On the caterpillar on the top of the branch, eh?
So I'm just looking carefully. We're watching a few individuals where we think they might be emerging. And that's why there was so much activity earlier, is because all those individuals had just emerged, which is remarkable. There's still a few of them, so as they emerged, it looks like they're mating. And a female once has mated, she would lay a batch of about 20 eggs within a site like this. Obviously, this is the preferred larval food for these individuals. So Deirdre just helping me. We really, 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 really would like you to see this. And we're just keeping tabs on a few individuals which we think might emerge in the next few minutes. And I mean, it's fairly warm and it's only 20 to 8 already. That sun is really kicking its heels in. So Deirdre has seen individuals that look very white. If you see the casing that you folks are looking at now, it is fairly white. And if you look at the butterfly, there's colors that resemble it with inside here. So there's its eyes. You can actually see its eyes will be right on top. Obviously just being very, very careful here. Just come out. So its eyes would be right over there. And then the wings folded in a very neat pattern lying behind the back. Anything your side, Deirdre?
I've got my eye on about 10 different ones.
You can see the old shell that the butterfly above it just came out of.
We should probably prepare to move fairly quickly.
Wild Earth presents Safari Spotlight, your front row seat to the wonders of the wild. Join our expert naturalists each week as they guide you on an unforgettable journey through the heart of nature.
Looks like this female came out here.
What a privilege to be here.
Subscribe to the Wild Earth YouTube channel and never miss a moment of the adventure. Wild Earth, connecting with nature. Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Discover the magic of Africa with Wild Earth Travel. From a big cat safari to a jungle trek with gorillas, picture yourself floating down the Zambezi River or witnessing the breathtaking wildebeest migration. At Wild Earth Travel, we turn your bucket list into reality. Don't just dream it, live it. Plan your incredible life-changing journey with Wild Earth Travel today. Stay up to date with the latest happenings at Wild Earth. Discover what goes on behind the scenes and get a weekly recap of the best moments on the channel.
He's got it! And he's straight up a tree!
Sign up to be an explorer and receive our newsletter written just for you and sent straight to your inbox every week. Wild Earth Explorers, a club for people who are passionate about nature.
Thank you for joining us and have a fantastic morning.
Jackie, how long before the butters fly away after they've emerged? Well, it looks like they're kind of hanging around here for a little bit. We can see a lot of individuals taking their time. They move off a couple of meters, and it seems like they are looking for mating partners straight away. You obviously in this beginning period, you just want to take it easy. You've just emerged, and you've got this new apparatus of wings, and you're still kind of finding your feet. So it looks like they're taking a couple of minutes here, and then they take flight. And from there, they waft off to the end of the tree, and then it looks like they fly off. To try and keep tabs on one is a fairly difficult task, because there's so many at this point in time. But yeah, they wouldn't have to go far, because this is their larval food. And they obviously have taste receptors. The antenna would be doing that job. They are smell and taste receptors on the end of these club-like appendages, these antennae. So this insect can pick up the chemical clue that this is larval food. So if it is an individual that will reproduce, this is the best spot. So you would kind of hang around here. If you do find a mate, great. If not, that's why you have this amazing ability of flight, and something that's only been achieved through certain organisms through evolution. Insects, mammals, and that of birds. And it's a remarkable adaptation, especially to find new food and to find a representing mate. Oh, I can't believe we saw that. Physically mind blown right now. So this is the start of the cycle. Obviously reproductive individuals, finding a mate, mating, laying eggs. Like I said, this individual would lay about 20 eggs on a shepherd's tree. Boskia is its larval food. And from there, this little caterpillar, once emerges, would just eat frantically to try and accumulate the material, the energy it needs to go through this transformation, because the cumulative material would be needed to transform into an elaborate adult such as this. And this is what we refer to as a holometabolic life cycle. So the whole body, holometabolic, the whole body is restructured and broken down. So a very different life form coming out. Okay, where's the next one emerging? So, Mario, is there a way to determine if it is a male and female? Yes, and it would be the patterning on the wing. So if I could stand to correction, I think females have more black lining or black markings within the wing pattern. I could stand to correction here, but let's just go to this one that's emerged. Females have more darker panels or lines that run across the wing than that of males. It could be the other way around. I'm super dyslexic, so my brain could be just shifting things around. And I am only human. So if I am incorrect, I apologize profusely.
The more colours is male.
And the more colours, the more... Okay.
Let's see if I can see this.
Beautiful. As I've mentioned, every day is a learning day for me. And that's why I love being a guide, is because I'm constantly stimulated and constantly driven to understand more about this. Because I understand more about this, I understand more about myself. And obviously this big, beautiful planet that I am part of, because my actions and what I do has an effect on everything over here. But yet I need all of this in order to survive. It doesn't need me. So in terms of respecting and understanding it is by far the most enriching part of my life, is understanding all of this. Because how lucky are we that we have the cognitive ability and the luxury of viewing and understanding all of this complexity. All right, I'm going to keep on geeking out of here. We're going to send you over to Taylor at Pridelands.
Well, finally we've managed to get hold of some animals that are willing to stick around. And I think that's because it's hot and that there's water available. That the buffalo are not going anywhere. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Sebastian Rombi, and we're here at Pridelands, which is part of Baluli Game Reserve and the Greater Kruger. Now, we're not at Ndlovu Dam for a change. We are here at Leopard Dam. I'm actually just going to do a little duck now so that you can see what's going on. But there's a bit of commotion going on there, which is quite normal to see with buffalo, especially these big breeding herds constantly interacting. You know, you're bound to get annoyed with somebody, and then, well, the easiest way to sort that problem out is a horn to the bottom, which is probably what is happening there. But they look quite settled for the most part. The cows are now sitting in the water. You can see some young calves, and I don't know if they'll stay here the whole day out in the sun, but they'll definitely stay here for some time to cool off before I think they'll find a nice shady spot to rest. Hello, girl. She's clearly been rolling around in the mud at some point. Doesn't look very impressed with us, keeping a close eye, making sure we don't do anything. And then the one just above her, look at her face. This is the typical evil stare that buffalo like to give people, lions, anything really. Oh, she's quite pregnant too. She looks quite fat. So hopefully we'll start to see lots of little buffalo. Although there's not really a breeding season for buffalo. They don't give birth all year round. But it does make sense, if you can, to try and sync it up with, well, I suppose the rains, right? Because with rains comes nice lush vegetation. You can see them, they're all getting nice and comfortable. The oxpeckers also flying around. They haven't left the buffalo's side. You might even be able to hear the foam nest frogs chirping in the distance too. very peaceful scene out here this morning. Sebastian and I have also managed to find a little bit of shade, which we're huddling under. I think the buffalo are probably envious. And we also don't want to really sit in the sun. We kind of don't want to cover ourselves in mud, so we've opted for a marula tree, thankfully. A couple of splashes here and there from the buffaloes as they swish their tails. Quite dramatic as they try and get rid of all the insects. Also having the odd gulp of water. I'm going to start to hear the humming of the bees and dung beetles as they fly on past, until there'll be lots and lots of feces around the edge of the dam before the buffaloes went in. I don't think that they were sleeping too far from here last night. These are the longest ears. These are perfect for spotting the flies just around the eyes.
Well, we haven't found too much other than our herd of eddies, which is what I was actually hoping for. We've managed to kind of just find them as they left Treehouse Dam, which I was a bit unhappy about because I was hoping that we'd see them drinking at the dam itself, but they'd just finished up. What's weird though is that they haven't really sprayed themselves. As you can see, they dry. They're quite a light grey colour. Generally, when they've been swimming or spraying themselves, they're a much darker grey than what you see here. There's one or two that have done it, but for the most part, the herd is still probably looking for a decent-sized waterhole in order to go and properly spray. So I wouldn't be surprised these guys appear at Gowrie Dam on the dam camera in about an hour's time. They're moving fairly quickly, and I think the reason for that is the heat. They're slowly pushing their way towards the Mulawati, which makes a lot of sense because the Mulawati will have a lot more shade than there is out here. You can see that they're in full sun at the moment, and those ears are working overtime to try and keep these guys cool. It really is a warm morning. Apparently the temperatures are going to push close to 40 degrees Celsius by midday, and so it's already got a bit of venom in the sunshine at the moment, which is why those ears will constantly be flapping. The hotter it gets, the more the ears have to work. You'll find on cool mornings in the winter, sometimes you don't see the ears flap at all for a good 3-4 minutes, whereas you can see now she's pretty much constantly pushing those ears back and forth, just trying to cool her blood down as much as possible. Now, it's not just her and this little one in the herd. There's quite a number of them. They're just spread out at the moment, so I'm going to just reposition and we'll get the rest of them. They're just up at the top here. I'll try and find them.
We have an exciting announcement. Wild Earth is launching a YouTube membership program. For a nominal monthly fee, members get an ad-free channel, prioritized questions, early access to videos, and many more perks. You'll get fun features like badges and emojis that'll make you stand out in the chat. YouTube memberships will help us to continue with our mission of connecting people with nature while giving you access to lots of our amazing content.
Get ready for an adventure of a lifetime. Wild Earth Travel is proud to launch a brand new grand tour. Backed by popular demand, join us for an unforgettable experience where you'll meet Wild Earth presenters from past and present, participate in an exclusive rhino conservation project, and even take a masterclass in wildlife filming. And of course, you'll get up close and personal with your favorite animal characters. Book your spot now and dive into the wild with Wild Earth Travel. Chatting around a fire is an ancient practice that has connected humanity for centuries, and we want to keep it alive in our modern age. As an explorer, you'll have access to intimate gatherings with our naturalists, fascinating guests, and experts where we share knowledge, insights, and stories around a crackling fire. Rediscover the power of connection. Sign up to be an explorer today and experience the magic of Wild Earth's Fireside Chats.
The thickets. It's one of the things that always amazes me with elephants is how it goes from kind of one elephant and you can't really see others to all of a sudden there's 20, 30 of these big grey animals ghosting through past you. It's unbelievable to see their camouflage. I always get astounded by how easily they blend in. You know, big animals like these that weigh 4 tons, you'd think would be difficult to miss, but in fact in little bushy areas like this can be easily overlooked, particularly if you're not listening. They give themselves away mostly with the sound that they make because of the crunching of trees and branches brushing up against their skin. Makes a bit of noise. Alright, I'm going to try and, before we get repositioned, Lark, you want to know the difference between a male and a female, so I shall show you in a diagram, because I'm sure that will be easier than me just explaining with no reference. So if you just give me 2 seconds. That's a hippo. We don't want a hippo. We want an elephant. Where are you, elephant? Sorry, guys. Just give me 2 seconds. Now, where is it? I had it here. Sorry, I'm trying to find the page in my book. There we go. All right. It will be easy enough to explain with this diagram because, well, it's nicely laid out. Okay, so you have bull in the background, cow in the foreground, so you will see that there's going to be a size difference, but obviously that is when you can see them together. It makes it a lot easier when you kind of have them close together to see size differences. But the easiest way is if you look at the head of these two individuals, you'll see that the head of the cow has a very angular, sharp, pointed kind of head, whereas the bull has this nice rounded sort of forehead there. And then the spine is also quite indicative of sex. You see the male has a very sharp kind of point that goes up and then it drops off and comes up, whereas a female is a lot more kind of straighter. Also, the distance between the hips and the shoulder on a female is slightly longer, and you'll find that the legs of a male elephant always appear to be a lot longer on the front legs particularly. But really the head is your defining kind of thing. That's what you aim to look at when you're looking at Ellies. It will pretty much give it away more times than anything else, and is often easier to see than the other sort of sides of it. But that's the quickest and easiest way to be able to sex them. The problem with that is that ability to sex them in that manner can only start when they're about 15 years old. Prior to that, it's a bit more of a guessing game as to whether it's a male or a female. Generally, the nice thing is that when Ellies reach that age, or prior to that age, is that they often have, particularly the boys, their genitals often hang out, and that gives it away quite quickly. An elephant is fairly well endowed, and so it's not difficult to miss if it's a boy or a girl when that happens. All right, I'm going to try and catch up with them. They've drifted quite far already, and so while I do that, I'm going to send you across to McMuddy, Taylor McGurdy with her buffalo.
Yes, I am McMuddy. That is true. I think it was almost this day 3 years ago where I fell face first in the mud in the Masai Mara. Right. Speaking of mud, We're looking at some. Not that I've smeared it up against the tree, but this is a marula tree, and this has been done by the elephants. And actually, a couple of months ago, we watched the elephants just not destroy, but tear off bark from this tree. So you can see all the grooves and sort of scars that were left behind by the elephant's tusk, but you can see the tree is definitely trying to heal itself. So when you see those sort of reddish parts where the cambium layer is exposed, you can sort of just see that it was oozing at one point, and that's of course the sap from the tree. And within that sap there's all types of not disinfectant, where are my words today? Antibacterial sort of properties that are going to try and heal that tree up. But it's going to take a long, long, long time. It doesn't look like the elephants have, since a few months ago, paid much attention to this tree, but what they have been doing, of course, is using it as a rubbing post. They have, as these buffalo are spending a bit of time in the water and in the mud, we know the elephants like to cover themselves in mud, and they can normally come over here and have a nice scratch. That looks like much better tree to scratch yourself on. You can see again just some scoring from the elephant's trust. Apologies if the camera moves. It's me fighting all of the flies today. With the buffalo come tiny little biting. Oh, Seb, go straight into the fork of that tree. There's something there. There's a skink. Can you go up a little bit? There we go. Hello. Look how chunky it is. It looks like I think it's just a common skink that is just sitting in the fork of this tree. A nice place to sort of hide away. Very good camouflage. Lots and lots of bugs about. Lots of flies. There we go. You can see it desperately looking. Oh, sorry. There we go, Seb. That's perfect. I'm just trying to fight the flies, and we're trying to sit very still now. But maybe we'll even be lucky enough to watch it run out and catch something. They're quite comical. We see lots of them in the camps. And the night before, I actually watched one try and catch a fly from the, it was outside, and the fly was on the inside of the window, and it attempted it for 5 minutes, chasing it up and down the windowsill. So I don't know about the intelligence level, but anyways, it was very entertaining. It was early-ish in the evening too. They're not nocturnal. They spend a lot of time moving around during the day, and then they'll find a nice little hidey hole and disappear at night time. That's when the geckos like to come out. But the buffalo have not moved. There they sit, just still swatting their tails and flapping their ears, desperately trying to gain some relief from all the insects. Perhaps they need something like those skinks or anything that's willing to eat flying insects. Perhaps they need to all be covered in chameleons, and that would be quite nice for them. I definitely would have evolved. I would have plucked chameleons out of the tree and provided them with safe haven and also regular meals. That would have been my tactic anyways. There's a couple of dragonflies, as you can also see every now and then, flying across the screen. There's lots of them at the moment. They're all swarming. So they're definitely helping with catching a lot of the flying insects. Chinley, now I haven't personally ever seen a physical fight between elephants and buffalo. I know there were pictures many years ago that surfaced on social media where an elephant basically lifted a buffalo off of the ground. I suspect there must have been some kind of altercation with a buffalo and a cow's calf or something along those lines that got to the point where the cow felt like it was agitated and needed to intervene. Remember, animals don't want to engage in a fight unnecessarily because they can become injured in the process and then, of course, not be able to feed properly, not be able to defend themselves. So if they can avoid conflict, they will. So no, I haven't personally seen it. You see it, I mean, what you typically will see is around a watering hole where everybody's, sort of jostling to get a place to drink or to come in and have a swim or to just sit down and relax like the buffalo. And it can get a bit disruptive when you have a big herd of elephants and a big herd of buffalo all come down to the same watering hole that's maybe, quite small in size. So if we were to have two breeding herds of elephants come through here to Leopard Dam, there'd probably be be a bit of a competition around the waterhole. But as we always say, size really does matter in the bush, and the elephants would normally rule the roost, and they'd probably just chase all the buffalo out if they weren't going to move. But buffalo are stubborn creatures. They really are stubborn. And then so are elephants, and so are hippos. So I suppose they've got no chance. Just a couple of them moving around now. Yes, what are you looking at, Buffalo Bull? He's also giving us evil eye. At the moment, so they're not just doing nothing. Obviously, they're trying to cool themselves down, but I'm sure you've seen them all continuously chewing. And no, they do not have bubble gum, in case you were wondering. They spend a large part of their day, as all ruminants do, so any animal with a four-chambered stomach, and they obviously have very effective digestive systems, and part of that is because they regurgitate a portion of partially digested food and then chew on that again, and it goes back down into the other chambers for a second chance at digestion, which was quite cool. But anyways, we're going to leave the buffalo now in peace and let them carry on with their afternoon.
How cool, we have a red-headed weaver that's got a full red head of plumage. It's so nice to see. We've been seeing them, but very fleetingly. There used to be one around camp, but I haven't seen it since. It's a really awkward position. It keeps looking down at us. It's almost just above us. But if we aren't here, then the stick's going to be obscuring it. So hopefully it'll give us one nice little look.
This is On Safari.
Are you ready for the adventure of a lifetime? Discover the magic of Africa with Wild Earth Travel. From a big cat safari to a jungle trek with gorillas, picture yourself floating down the Zambezi River or witnessing the breathtaking wildebeest migration. At Wild Earth Travel, we turn your bucket list into reality. Don't just dream it, live it. Plan your incredible life-changing journey with Wild Earth Travel today. Are you looking to take your bond with the wild to the next level? Download our app and access in-depth chats with our naturalists and special guests. Connect and converse in real time on our Ask Me Anythings, fireside chats, hangouts, and town halls. WeChat, available on the Wild Earth app. Wild Earth, we are Safari.
Them to come to this little muddy section, and I think they were all coming hoping that they could have a really nice mud bath, but alas, with the heat that we've had in the last 2 days, the mud is all dried up, and it's a disappointed, dejected look on many of an elephant's face as they came and sniffed around and realized, unfortunately, water and mud is not going to be available here. I'm pretty sure with this heat they were hoping to mud pack themselves and just get a nice amount of dark mud all over their bodies, which will just help with cooling down, 1, and 2, protecting them a little bit from the sun. As you can see, there's quite a few of them that are just milling about. It's interesting to watch these ellies. They know exactly where they're going, because from here they're going to bypass me now and they're going to go straight down the road to Chelapan. I guarantee if we go to Chelapan and we wait for them there, they'll arrive exactly where we kind of think they will. It's pretty obvious that they go there. It's a general route for the ellies is this way. All right, so let's go around and we'll catch them on the other side. I'm not going to push on the road, so I'll just go, there's at least a game path that runs through here that we can follow, and it goes around them, and then we'll just go to the pan and wait for them there. Shouldn't take them long, I reckon, maybe 10 minutes or so, not even, actually 5 minutes, and we'll see those ellies arriving where we are. They actually might get there before I do at this rate. See, this game path has gotten so thick nowadays. It's not nearly like it used to be. There we go. We're on the right one now. It helps when you're on the right one and not the wrong one. Generally, ellies have right of way when it comes to life. And so we normally let them kind of go down the road. And if I were to drive on the road behind them, eventually they just get frustrated with the noise behind them and they move off and they don't actually walk down the road. So this way they can have free range just to keep going straight. And we don't have to worry too much. Like I say, we'll have them in the next 2 seconds. This is a little bit thicker section and then it gets nice and open towards the pan. Brittany, so elephants, like what we're seeing now, moving the same places all the time. Hippos are big, big, big game path makers. Buffalo, rhinos, lions, leopards. Once hippos establish one, then you find that all the animals start to use them. And it becomes a pretty quick sort of progression to a big open path. Also, you must remember we had a drought for a number of years, which meant that a lot of these paths are far bigger and more defined than they would be in wetter years. They're on their way now, so I'm just going to go park in the shade on the opposite side of the dam, and we'll just, well, I wouldn't call it a dam, call it a pan, and see if they come down. They should. There's a couple here already that are having a little wallow. They beat me to it. So you see what I was talking about. You'll see on this cow's forehead how she's covering herself in this thick, dark mud, and that will cool them down much faster than just normal water. The mud actually cakes onto them, and it also just kind of acts as a little bit of a barrier that absorbs some of the heat rather than their bodies taking the brunt of the heat. But that's a massive, massive cow that's in there at the moment. It's a bit windy, but I'll try and keep quiet so you can hear the splashing of the mud. The rest of the herd is still making their way down. This is not the same herd as what we were following. This is others that have just so happened to be here. The other grouping, I think, has slowed down to feed a little bit now just to wait for this lot to finish. Ellies can sometimes be quite polite like that. If other elephants are busy, then they just wait for them to finish. And once those ellies are coated and they feel like they're fully covered, they'll move off and then the rest will come in and take advantage of it. Looks like a happy ellie though, doesn't it? You see how she's holding her ears out there? Did you see that? Rather than flapping them. And so the reason she's doing that is because she doesn't actually have to use any energy. She's wet her ears and she's opened them and the wind is coming from that side, which means that it's cooling the blood in her ears before she even has to do anything. She just has to hold her ears out and let the wind do all the work rather than actually physically flapping them.
back and forth. Now, Kari, you're asking how far can an elephant smell a predator? It always depends on a number of things. You'll find that wind direction plays a huge part in it. Terrain, bush, which predator we're talking, because some are stinkier than others. But generally quite far. If the wind is blowing the right way, they can pick up predators. I've seen them picking up lions from a good 800 meters away, kilometer, and probably further. It's difficult to judge when they're picking up a smell of a predator as opposed to just general behavior, because if it's not immediately close, then they generally don't display too much sign of irritation. I don't know how you'd sense that, but their sense of smell is good enough to pick it up from a long, long way, that's for sure. Especially if you've got a wind blowing like we do today. Is that one having a little sleep on the left there? Has it been too much today, little Ellie? It's just decided I'm done. I'm going to just lie in my wallow and be happy. I would imagine there's going to be a number of humans in this part of the world that's going to do very much the same thing at the lodges in the Sabi Sands today. They're going to find their pool and they're going to sleep in it and kind of take it easy and stay out of the heat. I don't think this Ellie could have covered itself more with mud than it already has. The little baby in the back is benefiting from it too, because it's being covered by mom at this stage. Mark, you say they're so majestic? They are indeed, aren't they? I thoroughly enjoy spending time with Ellies, and it's so nice that the last couple of days they've really come back in force, because it was a little quiet with Ellies in the first kind of week that I was here. So it's always really cool to spend time with them, and especially when you get these big old cows like this. I mean, she's a massive, massive girl. When I first saw her, I thought maybe it was a young bull that was there, just because of the size of her body and head. I think she's also pregnant as well. You can kind of see she's very rotund at the moment. So I suspect that maybe she's got a little one coming along. And if you look at her two offspring on the side of her, they're of the ages where it's possible she can have the next baby. She's got quite an old one that's lying down, and then there's one that's about, I would say probably about 4 years old. So it's about right for her to have her next calf, that's for sure. There goes another one down, I think. Yep. Also going to lie down in the mud. Now what you will find with these Ellies sometimes as well is that when they're in the mud like this, is that they will use their tusks to actually break the mud. So they kind of wedge the tusks in and they move it around and they make a slosh. And then from there they can actually wallow a little bit more. So sometimes you'll find Ellies doing that. In this case though, these two are just having a snooze. They are not interested in moving around too much. I think they're tired. They've probably had a long walk. It's hot. And it just seems like the right place to have a little nap under mom's watchful guys. Cute though, isn't it? As I always say, when you get Ellies lying down like this next to you, it's always an ultimate vote of confidence from them. So Natalie, asking about African and Asian elephants and differences. So there's quite a number of different things when it comes to the two. African elephants larger than Asian elephants on average. You'll find ears on an African elephant much, much bigger. So there's always that kind of thing that people say where the shape of the African elephant's ear is similar to Africa's shape, whereas the Asian elephant's ear is very similar to kind of India and that part shape. So much smaller ear. The Asian elephant on the trunk only has one little finger that sticks off the tip of the trunk, whereas African elephants have two. Also, what you'll find is that it depends where they are, but a lot of the time Asian elephant cows don't have tusks, and it can sometimes be quite rare for even the bulls to have tusks. So in like Sri Lanka, for example, not a lot of the bull elephants have tusks even, whereas obviously with the African elephants it's pretty general across the board. They all have them, bar the odd female here and there that has a recessive gene somewhere that doesn't produce them, but it's for the most part African elephants will display tusks. But really size, ear shape, You can't confuse them at all. It's pretty, when you see them side by side, you can immediately see the difference. It's quite obvious when there's a picture of each one next to them. That ear particularly is very noticeable on Asian elephants versus African elephants. You're just having the best time, girl. I don't think there's going to be any mud left by the time she's finished in this hole. She's literally covered her entire body. There's one little spot on her face and a little stripe on her ear that she's missed. But otherwise, everywhere else is covered in thick mud at this stage. Her skin is so kind of covered that the wrinkles are starting to disappear now. It's starting to become a little smoother rather than as wrinkled as they normally are. I wonder if she's going to lie down too. It's almost like she's providing shade for her young ones while they sleep. I think she's going to go down too. Those legs look like they're getting weary. Also, do you see her trunk? Often when you're looking at Ellies and you want to know if they're having a little rest or a micro nap, if you want to call it that, their trunk is always a good indication. When you see that trunk is completely limp, so all the muscles in the trunk are being relaxed, then what you'll find is that they are kind of in a sort of trance or a sleep or somewhere there. And her trunk went completely limp for a second there, so she's just having a little, I think, few seconds rest. You know, when you're sometimes a little bit tired and you end up kind of closing your eyes for a few seconds. So it's almost like that with her. I wanted to see if I could find... There's a very cool diagram I've got on an elephant's trunk, because often people ask about elephant trunks and how it all works. Alright, here we go. So if you have a look here, you'll be able to see that essentially, because a lot of people don't quite understand how it all works, but essentially you've got the nostril up on top over here. So there we go, there's a nostril there. Now air and water is being sucked in through there. You can see it comes all the way through, and then when it gets to this point here, that's where it will kind of then start to feed down into air, particularly will go into the lungs, whereas water is then blocked off by a membrane that sits here. The water is then kind of taken and pushed back into the mouth and then utilized that way. But a lot of the time people don't understand the muscle structure of Ellies. So if you have a look here, you've got longitudinal muscles, so these muscles that run the whole length of the trunk, and then you've got these radial muscles that are in between that, and all these muscles together make this trunk kind of work the way that it does. It's able to contract, lengthen, twist, turn, grab, go up, down, pretty much anything you can think of in any way is how it works. And there's no bone structure that sits inside there. It's all just powerful muscles with these two nostrils that goes all the way up and goes into the kind of, like I say, the nasal sort of cavities over there, and then kind of down into the body. But it's nice to just kind of see the layout of the muscle structures. You've got these kind of striated muscles that go down, and then these ones that come across. You can also see the tusk kind of structure, where you've got the little, the main part of the tusk, the pulp cavity, and then you've got the little enamel tip, which is the one that breaks a lot of the time, and kind of chips off at the bottom over there. Good. I think our Ellies have literally fallen asleep. Even Mom, her eyes are starting to close now. Shame, girl, are you tired and warm? And all the other Ellies are literally sitting in the sun waiting for her to finish. They're all behind us here, just waiting for their chance. I'm afraid they might have to go somewhere else and find another little muddy wallow to cool down in.
As the day goes on, more and more birds are arriving at a leopard dam, and the songs that they are singing are really just beautiful. which is really quite beautiful to have that giraffe also just show up unexpectedly. A few more buffalo. And I'm sure you could hear the eerie calls of the grey-headed bushshrike. But there are lots and lots of animals that will be visiting Leopard Dam throughout the day, and hopefully we'll get to see some more of them.
We're here at Simbambili Dam, and it's nice to see that we have 4 chicks. They're still remaining of the Egyptian goose family that was here. And they look really good and strong, don't they? I remember when they were tiny, tiny, and we saw them. So when they're about 7 weeks, they get a kind of a pinkish tinge to their what was a darkened bull, like a grey bull. And you can't see it too clearly now, but it's starting to happen. It usually goes from grey to a bit of a green, and then it starts to get slightly pink. So I'd say they're somewhere between 5 and 7 weeks now.
Join the Wild Earth YouTube Superfan community and unlock a world of additional perks. Get exclusive early access or discounts to Wild Earth travel deals. Wear the best bush attire with merchandising discounts. Enjoy an interactive live monthly private safari. Don't miss out on the ultimate fan experience. Join the YouTube Superfan community today. Get ready for an adventure of a lifetime. Wild Earth Travel is proud to launch a brand new grand tour. Backed by popular demand, join us for an unforgettable experience where you'll meet Wild Earth presenters from past and present, participate in an exclusive rhino conservation project, and even take a masterclass in wildlife filming. And of course, you'll get up close and personal with your favorite animal characters. Book your spot now and dive into the wild with Wild Earth Travel.
Thank you for joining us and have a fantastic morning.
Did you miss all that? Never fear, you won't have to miss another beat on Wild Earth again with our Catch-Ups channel, where you can rewatch missed safaris and shows whenever you please. Only available on the Wild Earth app.
Thank you for joining us and have a fantastic morning.
To be here. It's just that the markings look very much like ancient Egyptian art. I'm so glad to see these chicks looking so lovely and sturdy, so strong. Oh yes, Kyle is on such a roll. I'm so excited for him. You know how I love to see butterflies emerge and things like that, and Kyle has some more butterflies, so let's go over to him.
We are still geeking out here Incredible. A brilliant question was asked, the previous section. Thank you so much for the question. The difference between that of male and female. And I was right. So, but to better explain, this over here on the left is the male. He has less prominent dark markings or lines on the wings in comparison to that of the female. So, male on the left and then female on the right of a screen. And you can see that how frantic these males are in search of these females. This individual's wings aren't even extended correctly, and yet they are attached and transferring that sperm parcel. It is incredible to be here right now and to be sharing this with you. Something else was brought to my attention is that these butterflies are commonly referred to as migrating through the country, and that is actually not entirely correct.
Immigration.
They do an emigration. They don't return. Migration is a closed circuit where the animal will return to a given area. These guys leave the area. So just a little correction on what we've been talking about. Really remarkable to be at the site right now. We've found another 2 or 3 that we have actually watched from start breaking out of the chrysalis, and it actually breaks from the top section of the head. Look at this male trying to mate with a female. Look at that. So definitely pheromones being released by the female would attract these males via those antennae, those organs on top of the head. So right there you are seeing the transfer of life and the next generation of brown-veined whites. Really incredible. Owen, can you come up over here? Can you just come up onto the chrysalis over here? So where this is all happening, so this is basically the last exoskeleton of this caterpillar. It attaches itself with 2 little strands of silk to anchor the caterpillar itself, and then it wiggles itself within its own skeleton, or within its own exoskeleton, and actually encases itself into this little capsule. And then when it's ready to emerge, the break happens on this tiny little point right of it. It looks like a little horn. That's actually where the chrysalis splits. And then the butterfly basically claws its way out. Wings are folded in a very awkward manner. And then after a couple of minutes, obviously by oxygenating itself, blood is then forced into the wings, pressurizing the wings and straightening them out, obviously ready for flight. But I mean, just look at the vast amount. Follow me, Owen. Look at the vast amount. There's another one over there. There's another one over there. There's another one over there. And we've been trying to pinpoint when these individuals are ready to emerge. And we have found out that if we watch one long enough, it takes about 20 minutes, that the individual will be wriggling vigorously within this casing. And that's it, just dislodging this casing away from its new body. And then after a couple of minutes, it wriggles, and eventually it pops open, and out comes a beautiful butterfly. I'm not going to be able to sleep for the next few days. This for me is the peak of what we do out here, folks.